Hey everyone, how are you? Welcome back to Cobra Kai Theory. Today we have a very special guest, Sean Kanan, Mike Barnes himself. How's it going, man?
Hey man, thanks so much for having me
Thank
on.
you for your
Nice
time.
to be.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, man. Big fan. So, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Fans, you're
All right.
all tuning in, and all of you that are going to watch this after the live stream, I hope you'll have fun. So, you've seen Cobra Kai?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I watched it as soon as it came
Yeah.
out.
What'd you think?
I'm a big fan of the new show. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
We got a ton of fan questions. How would you like to do it? Would you like to just
I will
do
do it
some of
any way
those?
you want.
Okay, cool.
All met me. I'm good to
All
go.
right. Uh, yeah, let's start with some fan questions, then we can just free flow into everything. Can you shed any light on Mike Barnes' backstory, where he was from, which competitions he had won? Do you
Wow.
know anything about that?
Uh,
Did the writers?
to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I really don't know a whole lot more than if you remember there was the scene when Terry Silver's in his limousine and he's
Yeah, yeah,
reading
yeah,
magazine, and then there's that photo of me.
yeah.
My assumption is that okay, I can tell you this that you probably didn't know. So the sorry about that. Oh God, of course. Wait, I'm gonna have to call my wife. She's my IT tech person.
Good.
Um, that's not gonna hold. Let's. You know what? I'm just gonna hold it. Okay. Um, so the character breakdown for the part of Mike Barnes was a 17-year-old white Mike Tyson. Uh, so
Really?
uh, yeah, so presumably he was tearing up the tournament circuit and breaking a lot of rules
Yeah,
but winning a lot of
yeah.
fights. And of course, then Terry Silver found him and brought him down. I don't know a whole lot more about his background other than that. I mean, I've always speculated more on kind of what became of him.
Right.
What happened to this guy afterwards, and when we met him, he was a 17-year-old
Yeah.
kid. What became of him as an adult?
What happened
And that's
after he
something.
lost? Yeah, because I'm sure Terry Silver and Kreese were probably pretty pissed that he lost the tournament and all that stuff. So it's like, and it literally shaped Cobra Kai in the Valley. It's like, what do you think in your own theory? What do you think happened to him?
So I have a couple theories about this. I think one path that he could have taken was he literally became, a worse guy, got in more worse trouble,
Yeah,
and quite possibly wound up in
yeah,
prison. Okay. Another idea that I have, and I kind of like this one a lot more because I think it's a lot less obvious, is I think maybe he got in trouble and maybe he was given the choice of either, going to prison or going into the military,
okay,
and he went in and it straightened him out, and he became actually an honorable, good guy or a better man, and you know um, probably went off and fought in some of the wars in you know Baghdad, Afghanistan,
right,
etc., and got himself pretty straightened out.
yeah,
And the reason I think that would be interesting is because if you remember, there's there's the dialogue between Terry Silver and Mr. Miyagi where they're talking about how they were both
right,
soldiers, and Terry Silver says something to the effect of, John wasn't always like that.
yeah,
And he says war does that to a man, and he says you would have had to been there. And then Mr. Miyagi replies, have
yeah,
been, do know. So I think it'd be interesting that in that sense, Mike would be the other side of the coin of kind of the same experience that John Kreese went through. And I think it'd be interesting if he came back and he wasn't a bad guy, and his beef wasn't with Johnny Lawrence, but it was with and it wasn't even with Ralph
with
with
Daniel,
Daniel
yeah,
Larusso, but it was with
yeah,
Kreese. That would be interesting. And then just for comedic
that'd be
value, I
cool.
think it's funny. Like he wound up going to an ashram, and he's like, Mr. Beads and puka shells,
Oh
and
my God, could you imagine?
peace, love, and understanding.
Yeah,
That's funny.
right. He's like just totally
You know,
flipped the
it, it,
script.
the, the reason I think that's funny is the guys, Josh Held and Hayden and all the guys that John Hurt. They've got such great comedic sensibilities. They did Harold and Kumar, of course, and I could also see them creating something like that and it being really funny.
And then Mike would maybe snap out of it and be like, "What the hell?" And he sees
Right,
Kreese, and it's like all of a sudden just boom,
right,
switches.
right.
Yeah, because that's true. It's like he's probably I don't know if he was a good kid, but like he might have just had some bad influences, and then Kreese and Silver definitely weren't the best influences to have.
Right, and also if you look at how Silver took Daniel under his wing and initially was pretending to be his mentor,
Right.
every reason to believe that Terry Silver, who was an adult and a wealthy and powerful guy, was probably playing all sorts of manipulative mind games with Mike too, albeit in a different with a different delivery.
Oh yeah, big time. I wonder if they're gonna put Thomas Ian Griffith in there in Cobra Kai. That'd be pretty fun. What was
the only I've communicated not frequently, but from time to time with the producers of the show, and these guys are they're real fans of the whole Karate Kid universe, and I know they have said they'd like to have everybody from the original films, that's the canon material, involved in Cobra Kai. I think they just want to do it in a way that is organic and serves the show. So you never know.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Do you still keep in touch with Mr. Silver?
So I don't keep in touch with Thomas, but I'll tell you a funny story. My wife and I have been married 7 years, and we were having our engagement party, and we were having it at this really nice restaurant in Hollywood, and they had like a sort of a private banquet room in this restaurant, but the restaurant was still open. Right. And so Marty and I are friends, and Martin he was a guest at the party. Yeah. Well, unbeknownst to me and completely sort of serendipitous, Thomas was having dinner at the restaurant that night. And so
no way.
He wound up to the party and surprising me, and it was really great. And I've got this terrific picture of me and Thomas and Marty and my wife.
You got to post that on Instagram, man. I got to see that. That's too cool. Yeah. What are some, of course, touchy subject? Do you have any nice what are your fond memories of Mr. Miyagi, of Pat?
Well, you got to understand that before he was Mr. Miyagi, to me, he was Arnold from Happy Days.
Right.
I mean, I used to run home from school, and I must have been, I'm trying to think, I can tell from where I lived, I must have been in about second or third grade. So however old you are when you're in grades.
8.
And I would run home and I would watch Happy Days, and that's who I knew him as. And then years later, I came to know him as Mr. Miyagi, which was just amazing. It was incredible working with him. I was very much in awe of being in scenes with him. I mean, very quickly I had to kind of sublimate those feelings because I had a job to do, and
right.
I couldn't be walking around like this sort of starry-eyed kid. I have to play my role. But it was really great. It was an honor to work with him. He was always very kind to me, and he was funny. So nothing but good things to say.
I heard he was a pretty funny guy. A lot of people don't know this, but he didn't actually have an accent in real life.
No, not at all. He was a comedian in the Catskills, and although it's obviously completely politically incorrect, and we would never say this now, he went by the name the Hip Nip, and
okay.
And he had kind of a little bit of a, I'm saying New York accent, but like he definitely sounded very, very American.
Yeah.
But he was a comedian.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I always wanted to meet him, but it's too bad. Do you think Mike and Johnny would be friends in high school, or is Mike the top of the food chain kind of guy, at least at that age?
I don't know. I mean, from what we know and remember, Johnny was kind of an upper crusty guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
his family and Allie's family belonged to a country club.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mike didn't belong to a country club. I don't know if that implies that Johnny was kind of an elitist at that time, but
Oh, probably.
Mike, for a 17-year-old kid to be brought down to Los Angeles and get into cahoots with the likes of Terry Silver, so
Yeah.
I think Mike was a lot more rough around the edges, more of kind of probably a little more of a street type kid, less parental guidance, etc. Would they have been friends? I don't know. I think they would have had to respect each other's mutual martial arts ability,
Yeah.
but that may have set them up as being, you know, the two badasses at the school. I think I don't know. I'm extrapolating. Probably they would have offered. I think they might have offered an invitation to Mike to join the Cobra Kai,
Yeah,
and
probably.
I think not being paid to do it. I think Mike was kind of a loner, and I think he might have remained a lone wolf.
Yeah, he definitely was a
This,
lone wolf.
this is all me just kind of.
That's just theorizing. Yeah. No, man, that's the fun of it. Um what I know you've told this story in many other interviews, but for the fans here, how was it when you got the role? How did you get the role? All that. Take us through the story.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but I'll tell you.
Sure.
So I moved out to Los Angeles in 1987. I was going to school previously at Boston University. I was studying political science. I knew I wanted to begin my acting career, and I figured, you either have to go to New York or you have to go to LA. And it was easier to starve where the sun was out. And so I decided to go to LA, and I enrolled at UCLA to finish my political science degree. I was home in my little town of Newcastle, Pennsylvania, in Western Pennsylvania. And I had studied karate for years there. And my Sensei William Stoner, eventually joined Shihan Fumio Demura's school, which was a much bigger school that was based in California. And Sensei Demura was Pat Morita's stunt double. Okay.
Cool.
And so he told me, he said, Sean, they're gonna have this audition for the new bad guy in Karate Kid 3, and I know you want to be an actor, and you should audition for it.
Mhm.
And I remember I was home. I was hanging out like on the stoop at a sort of gas station convenient mart. My friends and I used to always go. We'd stay up late, and we just talk. And they were home from college, and so I told them about this audition, and I said, I'm gonna go to this audition, and I'm gonna get this part.
Yeah.
And you know, to their credit, my friends, didn't laugh at me. They were really supportive and believed that that was possible.
Yeah.
So they did an open call, and an open call or a cattle call is basically when anybody who wants to audition can audition. Okay, so everyone had to line up outside the studio. I think there were probably, I don't know, there were probably like 1,500, 2,000 people there.
Jesus.
And yeah, and John Avildsen, who had won the Academy Award for Rocky, who had directed the first two Karate Kids, was making his way up this long serpentine line of hopefuls with he had his first AD Cliff Coleman with him. John always carried like a little video camera with him,
Mhm.
and I knew that I would have literally 2 or 3 seconds to try and make contact with this guy, get him to stop, and talk to me, and see what happened. And as he was making his way up to me, I honestly don't remember what I did, but I got him to stop, and he said, "Okay, let's do a little improv," and he kind of asked me to intimidate him, and I did, and he said, "Okay, I believe that," and he sent me inside to the studio. And once I got inside the studio, it was like a three-ring circus. I'm on a sound stage. There's all of these media outlets, everyone from um, like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, all those sort of things.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
reason was this thing was a publicity stunt. That's not how Hollywood and the film business works. That we're gonna leave it to an open call of people that many of whom were not even actors. They were like, martial arts enthusiasts of the film, etc. But they thought it would generate good publicity going into the third installment of the film. I don't think they ever anticipated casting this role from this open call. Well, there's Ralph Macchio. They had created there's a set, and there's Ralph Macchio, and I mean, again, surreal. It's hard for it was hard for me to stay grounded, and not get caught up in the circus that I found myself in. So they put me on the this set with Ralph Macchio, and they asked me to do a scene with them. It wasn't a spoken scene. They just asked me to, again, kind of intimidate him, and so I did. I kind of key-eyed and threw a downward block and backed him into a corner, and he was like, "All right, call him off." And he probably thought I was nuts. I mean, and I knew it went well. Like, I knew that they had some interest in me, and they unfortunately hired somebody else. So they hired this other guy.
Really? I didn't know that.
And I am crushed. Some guy named I think the guy's name was Daryl, not Daryl Vidal. Named Daryl. And for one reason or another, it didn't work out. And they called me back like a week later, and in that week I was crushed. I mean, I was honestly really at a very low point. And when they called me back and they said, "We need you to get to the studio immediately," and I lived up on Sunset Boulevard, and I'm in my car, and I'm driving through traffic to get to Burbank, where the studio is, and I knew that it had to be a good thing. They don't call you back to say, "Hey, we didn't give you the part twice." Yeah. I figured, okay, there's like a buddy, there's like a, what I mean, some small role. Maybe I got a shot at it. And I'll never forget, I'm driving, and to the left side of me up in the hills, I see the Hollywood sign. And, there's something actors, we always say, depending on what's going on in your career, sometimes the Hollywood sign seems to be, smiling at you, and sometimes it seems to be smirking at you. And that day, the sign was definitely smiling at me. I showed up, went to the executive producer's office. John Avildsen was there. Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the Karate Kid films, who went on to write Taken and so many mega hits, was there. Robert was a martial artist himself. He kind of put me through a couple, fairly simple moves. He just wanted to see what kind of technique I had. And literally within 20 minutes of showing up in that office, they sent me to wardrobe and told me rehearsal starts tomorrow, fight choreo. I mean, my head was spinning. I mean, this was a major studio movie. I mean, I had never done anything of this size. And another story that sort of precedes this is the day before the open call, I found out who the casting director was. Now, I had done a couple roles on television. I had my SAG card, and I went to the casting director's office and I said, "Look," I said, "I'm a real actor. Can I audition for you here and not have to go to this?" And she said, "No." So, I tried to circumvent the whole cattle call thing, and it didn't work. But yeah, within 20 minutes, I was getting, papers signed, and it was just like my head spun. And by the next day, I was a part of the cast. It was
Jeez.
real. And so the second part of the story is that we've been filming for about 2 weeks, and we broke for Christmas. And I started having some pretty significant pain in my left leg, which I attributed to doing all the karate. And I started taking a lot of aspirin. Well, it turned out that I had done a stunt that had nothing to do with karate. I had to kind of stand in a stationary position, jump and fall on my side. and it had to do with the scene where Mr. Miyagi shows up at the dojo and throws me through the door, and I land on my side. Anyway, long story short, I had perforated. I had internal bleeding, and the aspirin exacerbated the bleeding.
Oh
So,
no.
while most people on Christmas Day in 1989 were with their families, ready to open Christmas gifts, etc., I was in the emergency room at Humana Sunrise Hospital, fighting for my life and having emergency surgery. And they told me they didn't know if they could save my life. And so my dad, they could only get one ticket from Pennsylvania because it was like midnight. So they decided my dad was going to go. So he flew out to Vegas, and I came to in the recovery room. I had like 15 inches of staples on my abdomen, and my poor dad was just gray, because he didn't know if I was going to live or not. And I got a call from the studio and from John, and John has passed on now, so I'll tell the story. I don't tell it a whole lot, but there wasn't a whole lot of, hey kid, how you doing? We're so sorry this happened. It was you need to get back to work in 10 days,
What?
or we're going to recast the part. They were going to cast Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son. And I mean, this part was my part, and there was no way that I was going to lose it after going through all this. And so, again, long story longer, I had myself, I left the hospital 3 days later against medical advice. And I wound up going back to set, and they said, okay, we have just enough of you on camera. We're going to have a stuntman do all your martial arts. We'll use you for close-ups. And again, that was crushing because, I mean, I'd been training martial arts for a long time, and I was the guy that should be doing it.
Yeah.
And they put me together with a guy named Kyle Borland, who was a lineman for the LA Rams back when this was the first time the LA Rams were there. I think the first time or second. And I started working out with him every day. And the first day I could do a handful of sit-ups, and 2 days later I could do 50, and so on and so on. And I wound up doing every one of my own stunts in the film. Every martial arts stunt I did. There was one stunt I didn't do and wouldn't do, which I don't know if you remember, after we wreak havoc on the bonsai tree and we're doing the donuts in the parking lot outside.
Yep.
And then we cross the train tracks as a speedy.
Yep.
That there is no way, after almost dying, after going through this, I'm getting taken out by a train. Get the stuntman. So the stuntman did that one. But closing this story down, Karate Kid 3 changed the trajectory of my career, but it also changed the trajectory of my life. But when I look at it, sure, I see my big break. I see that it's the third installment of, a highly popular pop culture franchise, etc. But for me, the reason it's so special is because I know what it took to get the role, and I knew how I had to fight literally for my life to live and to keep the role and to finish the film. And so for me, whenever I see it, which isn't frequently, but every now and then, I'll catch that it's on TV and I'll watch a second or two. I get kind of misty because I know how close I came at 21 or 2 years old to losing my life. And that would have been my story.
I didn't know that, man. First of all, I'm very happy that you're okay. Second of all, that kudos for you for, I don't know if this is a good thing, but getting back on the job. But I mean, I'm sorry that they said that to you. That's frankly,
well, I mean,
that's bullshit.
I mean, I got to be honest.
They should have been taking care of you. I mean,
well,
I always wondered how that even happened. Like, were you on a trampoline? Did they
no
catapult you?
No, I wasn't. I was literally standing on the floor of the Cobra Kai dojo, and I had to just kind of jump sort of about 2 feet and fall on my side. But we did it again and again and again and again, and I don't remember having any pain doing it. In other words, I don't remember any kind of acute traumatic pain during the time that we did it. It must have been some kind of crazy freak accident. I must have had some kind of a, I don't know, some kind of compromised or weakened, you know, flesh inside that, you know what I mean? I can't.
Well, just repetitive. I mean, you
Yeah,
kept,
I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be, you know, tantamount to somebody just like, you know, throwing hooks at your side
yeah.
20 times. Um, and yeah, it was kind of a, I mean, I feel badly saying this because I don't want it to sound like sour grapes, but it was a good
No,
lesson.
it's not, man. Like people have to understand if that's what happened to you, then that's what happened
It
to you, and
was
that's
it was welcome to Hollywood, kid. And I
yeah,
learned very quickly that, you know, look, there's some very nice people in our business, but this was a multi-million-dollar big endeavor. They were probably terrified that they had taken a chance on me and filmed for 2 weeks, which costs, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and may have had to reshoot. But I feel like it could have done, you know, they certainly could have injected some humanity into it.
yeah.
And ultimately, you know, I wound up having a workman's comp lawsuit. And, you know, I kind of got crushed in it. I think I wound up getting $1,000. It was, um, you know, you know, I don't want to relitigate that or anything like that, but it could have been handled much better, but it wasn't. It was a good lesson for me, and ultimately, I wouldn't trade the whole experience for anything because, you know, at a very young age, at least at that point in time, I was being severely tested, and you know, somehow was able to look within myself and find the strength and fortitude to survive and persist and overcome. And you know, there's been times in my life since when, you know, you face an obstacle and, you know, it seems insurmountable and it seems like, you know, you want to kind of wuss out or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remind myself, knock it off. You know, you're the guy that, you know, you're the guy that made it through this. You can make it through this. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
it
Yeah.
gives me a little bit of a shot in the arm.
It was a good lesson for you then, I guess, in
Really?
a sense, but also a good lesson in that. Well, yeah, I don't want to talk shit on Hollywood, but at the end of the day, they're out for themselves and their project, and I understand that whole thing about hey, we got a project to do, we got to move on, but
Right.
definitely the way you said it hits home with they have to do it with a bit of humanity, like
Yeah.
this is their fault, it's on them.
Yeah.
So that's why I also didn't know that with the with the train scene. I thought that was two cuts because I rewatched it again last night just to get totally familiarized and not miss a beat. I thought that was two
You
cuts.
know
I
what?
didn't know a train was actually
You know what?
coming
You know
through.
what? It honestly, absolutely might have been. I remember. I remember. You know, you got to remember this was 30 some years ago. So
100%. Yeah.
I remember seeing the stunt guys. I think doing the. You know, honest to God, I can't remember if I was in the car doing the donuts.
You were in the car. You were 100% because you were
So
like
I was like,
screaming at LaRusso. You're
right,
like sign it.
car,
And then I see it the car went to the tracks and
right.
then it cuts scene to Daniel or something and then it cuts back and the car is like way beyond the tracks and the train is like
You know what also could have happened. I mean, it's very conceivable that after I did my part in the car, that I was wrapped for the night and I left
oh yeah, maybe.
and didn't know if in fact they had actually timed it out or if it was a green screen thing or something. So
Yeah.
you may be absolutely right. But watching the movie, I'm
I don't know. I just know from watching the movie,
glad,
man. I
glad,
have no clue.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that scene where you were catapulted through the door when Miyagi throws you and that's the scene you were talking about, right? With
Right.
your injury. So they didn't put you on a trampoline or anything. That was like you jumping through the door?
No. But that's not where it happened. It was that scene, but it was supposed to be.
Oh no, I sorry, yeah, I got it. Yeah, when Silver's like, take him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That one, right?
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Got it. Cool. Okay. How are we here for time?
I'm good.
Okay, you're good? Okay.
Good if you are.
Um, yeah, dude, 100%.
Yeah.
What was the on-set dynamic between the actors? Yeah, that's a good question.
Uh, you know, I kind of really wanted to be buddies with Ralph because I'd grown up watching him and everything. And
Yeah.
reality was, Ralph was the star of the film. He was in almost, he was in most of the scenes. Um, he didn't have time for that. And I think also to a certain extent, the producers wanted to kind of, I think they wanted to facilitate. I don't want to say animosity, but they wanted to kind of keep me separate
Mm.
so that it would be more believable at the end when I'm going after him that that I didn't like him. I like Ralph fine,
Yeah.
but I think they kind of wanted to do what they could to you know um,
Keep the story going, I
keep the
guess.
story going.
For the
Yeah,
story's sake, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I got you there. Um, you had I forgot her name. She played Samantha. Her last name was Lively.
Robin.
Yeah, right. You had to you kicked her in the stomach.
Yeah, I did. That's terrible, right? I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, that
Such a
was one of the questions. It's like, how'd you feel about kicking her in the stomach? I was like, oh man, I don't think you actually
you know,
kicked her, but
she is
maybe you did.
such a lovely girl, and years later, I went on to date her sister in real life.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, I dated her sister.
Wait, her sister, Blake,
No, Lori Lynn.
Lori Lynn. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, and so I would see Robin, because uh, dating.
sure, yeah,
Yeah, so uh, it seemed perfectly in character for Mike
yeah.
Barnes. But yeah, that certainly kind of was, when I read that in the script, I was like, oh God, now they're really gonna hate me.
Oh Jesus, that's pretty funny. Um, are there any deleted scenes from Karate Kid 3?
Boy, that's a really good question.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer. I would, almost always when you do a film,
yeah.
there are deleted scenes. Um, I don't remember. I don't remember shooting anything that didn't make it into the film, to the best of my knowledge.
'Cause I know there was some cool scenes. There was like some when Daniel was training and Mike was training with Kreese and Silver and Dennis and Snake. It's like
Oh, okay.
there must have been something extra there.
You know what? Yeah, I think we probably did some other training stuff, and some of it looked better than others, and they probably just picked what they thought was the most convincing,
Sure.
cool stuff. Probably didn't have a couple of those in there. I
Yeah.
would say maybe that was, that would have been part of the montage.
Right.
When I'm breaking tricks and all that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, but as far as I know, I think most of it from my character made it in there. I don't know about uh, Ralph or any of the other characters.
So during the whole film, you had to obviously play Mike Barnes, who was this aggressive dude. How did you channel that? Was there any sort of influence from anything in your life that helped you bring that about? Because I mean, you played him really well, and it's not easy to play that kind of a uh,
Yeah.
asshole. You know, you know what I mean? It's like how'd you do that?
What's funny is I'm very involved with um, a group called Buddha Bullying, and what we do is we go to high schools and we facilitate a dialogue about bullying. And generally, when I'm giving one of the seminars, I'll show part of the final tournament scene with me and Ralph when
Oh no way.
we're the mat and I'm yelling at him, screaming at him, and he
Yeah.
looks visibly terrified. And I'll say to the kids, "Would you believe that guy, that scary guy right there, used to get bullied when he was a kid?" And I was pretty severely bullied when I was a young kid, and that always stuck with me. And so I think that I had a lot of experience with being bullied, and part of creating Mike was a amalgamation of probably a lot of kids who bullied me. And I think also, look, I had just come to Hollywood. I was 22 years old. I was brash. I was probably more than a little arrogant. And I think, but I was never obviously like that. But I think
Right.
I just channeled what would be the negative manifestation of that, coupled with sort of my natural, I had a strong natural force of personality and charisma as a
Yeah.
young guy. And I hadn't really studied acting a whole lot. I was very serious about studying acting, and I had begun to study with a very good teacher, but I got the role very quickly, and so I was able to coach with my teacher privately, but I had to really rely on, just kind of bravado and
Right.
snarling and all that sort of stuff to create the character.
Fair enough. I didn't know you did that for bullying. That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really great. I don't like bullies. I was really bugged as a kid too, and
yeah, I don't like them either.
um, no, yeah, screw those guys. How are we for time, man? We okay?
Yeah,
You
I'm good.
you wrap it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. A few more questions, and then we'll wrap it up, guys. Thank you everyone for showing up. Um, where do you think Mike Barnes would be in Cobra Kai if they brought him back? I don't know how much you can talk about this if you can't talk about this, but theory-wise, where do you think he would end up?
Well, so Mike is about 5 years younger than I am, because I think I was like 22
Yeah,
when I did the film, and Mike was supposed to be 17, so
right.
53 now. So Mike's in his late
Good
40s.
for you, man. You look great.
Thanks, pal.
That was one of the comments that everyone was just like, "Man, are these guys drinking from the fountain of youth? What's with the Karate Kid
Yeah, it's
cast?" Like,
called Tito's vodka. No.
yeah,
Um. So whatever he's done, he's lived a life. He's
right.
48 years old. Um. Where would he be? Ask me the question again. Where would he be when he
Where
came?
where would he be? He be now in Cobra Kai? Like around that time, where would he be now in the Karate Kid world?
Oh, I see.
With with the beads
Well,
as a peace guy, right?
I mean, it could be very interesting if he was kind of like a crackerjack special forces guy who's
Oh,
kind of be
okay.
polished and all that sort of stuff. Um, or he could, you know, just be getting paroled from having done something real bad. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'd be funny if he's like a blue button down and khakis, like
Oh
soccer.
my god, dude.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But that's one of the reasons I think it would be so much fun to eventually come back to the show, because I think it would satisfy my innate curiosity as to what happened to this guy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would love to see you in the show if they bring you back. I would absolutely love that, and Terry Silver as well. One last question before we leave. You said you were very starry eyed. Of course, everything happened super fast when you got cast. Were there any intimidating moments with Martin Kove and Thomas behind
Uh,
the scenes, as you were getting to know them or anything like that?
no, they were really cool.
Cool.
Wasn't that? I would say the intimidating moments came because the producers were really, they were on me. I had never been on a big set like that, and because I was kind of starstruck and surrounded by these people that I had only watched in films, I think there was a little bit of a learning curve of me having to be as focused and professional as I needed to be. I mean, I,
Gotcha.
I, I got it pretty quickly, but there were a couple times when they kind of, I don't want to say snapped on me, but they were they made sure that I was focusing and listening to the director. And that was a little, um, it was intimidating being told by, an adult who was a studio executive, you know, do what you're being told and listen
Right.
and stop fucking around. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't acting like an asshole or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would sometimes get a little caught up in like, wow, that sort of deal. But it was good because it was, once I, having done that film really taught me how one behaves on a set. And, because look, it's about the money, and it's about, not wasting time and not slowing down production and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, and, look, it was also intimidating. I'm working with John Avildsen,
Mm.
who won the Academy Award for one of the greatest movies of all time, for
Yeah.
Rocky.
Yeah.
And Rocky had come out in 1976, I think, and this was 1989. And so, it wasn't that long ago that Rocky Mania swept the country. And, here I am working with that guy. So that sort of stuff was kind of intimidating.
I can feel that.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I wish that they will, if the directors and writers of Cobra Kai are listening, please bring Mike Barnes back. We want to see him. You have a huge fan base. We love you so much. Thank you for your time, man.
Absolute pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate it. Love to do it again sometime. And thank you so much
Sure thing.
for who tuned in to watch. Take care of yourself, okay?
You too, man. I'll catch you later.
All right, take care.